Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Trudge Report. We are a recovery-based podcast. My name is Sean and I am your host. I am joined by my good friends and fellow trudgers. Please remember to listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you may get your podcast. Our videos will be posted each week so you can watch episodes on YouTube and Facebook. But as always, please be sure to download on your listening platforms. Remember to like and subscribe on all social media outlets with the handle @TrudgeReportPod. We are brought to you by Stella Mix Podcast Management and our wonderful producer and editor, Miss Janine Stella. Gentlemen, good evening. Happy recording day. We'll go right where we always go in the great Midwest, the cold Midwest, I hear nowadays. Mr. G.A. Phillips, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Doing well, man. First day back to work today after 10 days, so kind of shaking off the ring rust, I guess you would say.
Nice.
But yeah, doing well, man. Vacation was awesome and short as usual. Time just flies by. Had a good weekend of football for some of us, and some of us not so much. I'm sure we'll get into that. I'm just going to give my way too quick prediction. I'm going to say Rams. I'm going to have to agree with Sean here too. Rams, Bills, Super Bowl. I don't see any other way. Especially with the Patriots. The Patriots couldn't come alive last night against the Chargers. It's like, yeah, I don't see them going the whole way. But Rams, Bills, Super Bowl, and yeah. Well,
Who wins?
You know what? The Rams. I said it before the playoffs even started. I think this is their year. Matt Stafford looks like he's turned back time. Puka Nacua is unstoppable. Kyron Williams doing his thing. The defense turns it on when they
tight
have
ends.
to.
They got Higbee back too.
Oh yeah, Colby Parkinson. Come on,
Their number 2 wide receiver is Devontae Adams.
right?
Yeah, we forget about him.
Yeah,
Devontae
you know what I mean?
Adams, right? So, yeah, I think they've just assembled the Infinity Gauntlet, and they're gonna waltz right into the Super Bowl. And yeah, dude, I said I couldn't help myself but from rant about it. You guys already know, but scrolling through the feed today, actually it was all over everything. I saw it on Yahoo, all kind. They got autistic Barbie now. And you know, I don't want to upset too many of our listeners, but when is the inclusivity going to stop? You know, the noise canceling headphones and a fidget spinner to come with autistic Barbie, complete with a muted down dress so they don't, you know, get anybody with ADHD. You know, we can't have too many bright colors either. So even though it's Barbie, for God's sake. But I'm going to take it a step further. Mattel, if you're listening, which you're not, but it's fine. I want some representation. So I want overweight, tubby ginger Ken, complete with
Ken.
Manscaped. All right, that's always important. Nicely coiffed, ginger, tubby, dad bod, whatever you want to call it. I would like some shitty tattoos
And
on
Chuck
that sucker,
Taylor's.
and a crippling case of alcoholism. Please and thank you. I would like to see some representation.
I want to see a
my
model.
people.
I want to see a model with little hands. I want to see a Ken doll
Yes.
with little hands.
Please.
That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they do have little hands, Corey.
Proportionally, it's
Okay.
way off.
Yeah, but it's all about the proportions, dude.
Yeah.
Greg, did you go anywhere on your vacation? I know the holidays were but did you guys go anywhere?
Yeah, we went to you know, a couple different spots. We had a lot of you know, my fiance is a big family, and so we had you know, there's a string of birthdays, a whole slew of birthdays. So it felt like for a time there we had a birthday celebration like every single day at some other place. But yeah, no crazy ventures or anything. It was a chill.
Yeah.
It was nice. I'll tell you what, man. It's the little things. Getting to wake up every morning, get the coffee, get some breakfast, walk the kid to the bus stop. That was, you know, get him on the bus and off to school, and you know, just kind of come home. My fiance works from home like 90% of the time, so it was cool. It was just a nice chill.
So you
vacation.
guys were doing nooners all week.
They were hitting AM, Corey.
AM, nooners, afternoon, got to get it in 3:40. is
My
when the
God.
kid gets home from school. So we got it timed out perfectly.
Oh, that's plenty of time.
It was a nice week.
A lot of time to cuddle.
Indeed.
Great, Greg. I walk the girls to school almost every morning, and even though some mornings are more frustrating than others, I do not take. I at least up to this point, I don't take it for granted. There's something special about the morning time. And then I get it, man. I get it. It is a cool thing. I have a job that I have flexibility to do it just about every day. So
I will say too, not to come off too schlocky or anything like that, but we were talking about fears and financial and all that kind of stuff last week. And, wouldn't you know it, right after Christmas, right after the new year, I had an exhaust issue with my car, and it was a pretty penny. I got like 3 or 4 quotes on it, all pretty high. I ended up getting it done for about $750. And I mean, driving off the lot and, actually hearing my car like purr and be quiet again was nice. But it was like I was overwhelmed for a moment with gratitude. Like, damn, I have $750. There's a lot of people out there that don't. They wouldn't be able to make that decision, especially right after Christmas, if at all.
Yeah.
So it's like those little things, man. Like, big deal when you're in sobriety, especially as the time goes on. So very cool.
Yep. I was thinking sorry, Dan, real quick. I was thinking when we were talking about that last week, I was reflecting on it after listening to the episode the next day, for anything we needed to edit out. And I remember when I got a real job in sobriety, making $10 an hour, how excited I was because it was a consistent 10 an hour and I was going to be guaranteed at least at that time, part-time, 20 to 25 hours a week. And I was like, yes. And then I got a paycheck. And then the second paycheck, I still had money in the bank account from the first paycheck. What, dude, that was like groundbreaking shit for me. So
yeah.
Danny P, what's going on, bud?
What's up?
Take that in any direction you want.
Dude, you're taking me back to day labor, man. You remember all the guys doing $52 a day, and you would work about 10 hours, and then we
hard as shit.
Oh, dude, yep. And then you go to IOP after, right? Maricory come out after that. Oh man, I used to remember hopping in the car. I think with like 6 dudes and going there and just waiting to see if you're going to be able to go anywhere and just be grateful that you're able to go out for 10 hours and whatever that equals, $52. But after that, I mean, that was good for a couple days with money. And it's crazy when you look back at it now, and then my first like real job. I mean, I guess that was a real job, but not
we
really.
Didn't need much back then.
Yeah, it was $9 an hour part-time at Harbor Freight. That was my first real job in sobriety. And, easiest job in the world because nobody knew anything. Tools. It was like the easiest job in the world, but I was so grateful, man. I worked 20 hours a week and $9 an hour and I was living large. And now it's just crazy. And Greg, to what you said, that I don't know about you, like for me, like that initial reaction when that thing hit, Alyssa's transmission went, or this thing is like, oh, poor me. You know what I mean? The initial is all that. And then eventually when you're able to take that step back, man, it's always like, man, how lucky am I that I'm in this position to be able to actually, take care of this problem today.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too, like along with the fears and stuff like that, like this problem's been going on for like a month, and I've been like kind of putting it off, and like you're kind of scared to go in because you're like I got one quote like a month ago and they're like, yeah, it's going to be $1,300 just for the part. And I'm like, God, and you're putting it off. And then, next thing you find a good guy to do it. They get it done. And it's like, okay, thank God I got it,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I literally was just doing that. I just made an appointment for my oil change because, when you bring the truck in to get an oil change, it's really going to be like 500 because they're going to find a couple other things. So I've been putting it off, because I'm like, oh, I don't really want to spend 500 right now. But it's like, all right, you got to do this. I need a vehicle to work. Let's think logical. Let's not be fearful of this, and let's be practical about this. But the initial is the same thing. You got to put it off. It's like, because as soon as you drive in there, the guy's like, oh, well, you see what we got here. The flux capacitor is at the wrong
you have
angle.
a coil rod out, or something like that. They start making shit up.
Yeah, we need 16 gallons of blinker fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have Dustin, Corey, right?
Yeah. Thank God for Dustin, man.
Dustin's giving me some of the worst news of my fucking life, dude.
Yeah.
But you know it's true, and you trust him.
I trust him, and he does a great job. And can't say enough good things about Dustin. I can say a lot of terrible things about my vehicles,
dude. And that's like mad props to him because he delivers bad news to everyone 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, for
honestly,
him to be...
you know what's funny too about
he's a
Dustin?
special individual. That's for sure.
He's a good buddy. Because honestly, he might get more pissed off about my repairs than I do.
He does. He does.
You should look into opening
because that dude, he loves a good car. He loves a made vehicle. So when he sees like your POS Nissan rolling in there, he's getting pissed. He's already upset.
He was mother effing that thing. This fucking piece of shit or whatever. I'm like, thanks. I bought it 3 months ago.
He tried to tell me years ago. He's like, yo, if you buy anything but American made, I won't work on it. And he was like, I mean, I will, but I don't want to work on anything but America. Because I was like, oh, I think I'm going to get a Subaru. He was like, get a different mechanic if you get a Subaru. That's what he said.
Yeah. He cites you from time to time.
It's so true, man, though. American cars, I mean, it's so much easier, you know.
I mean, I have a Nissan Altima. Mine's a good one. Mine's an older one, and it's good. But he gets pissed at because the mechanic industry, the auto industry is just like all the other industries post-COVID where everything went up and then supply and demand, and you couldn't get the parts, and the parts are made even cheaper, and they're not as good. So
everything's electronic too.
Just yelling at people from O'Reilly Auto Parts and his other places, like, what the fuck, But anyways, I digress. Corey, how's it going, bud? Hold on. I'll give you 60 seconds to eulogize the Eagles if you want. You don't have to take it, but if you want, you out the floor for 60 seconds. Say what you need to say.
I'll just say this. Devontae Smith is our number one wide receiver. AJ Brown needs to hit the fucking bricks. Kevin Patullo, go somewhere else. And Jake Elliott, it's time to hang it up. Thanks for all the years, but you suck. Jalen Hurts, I don't care what anybody says about him. He did his job. They fucking couldn't catch the ball. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but
I wish he would have ran more.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. This season, what happened to Jalen Hurts' designed runs?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, where's the double threat of the run there?
The double threat is what arguably got you to and won you the Super Bowl.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if that's a Kevin Patullo thing or if Jalen was like, hey, I don't want to run as much.
The whole running game altogether, though. Saquon, too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what? Like, that's literally how every offense progresses is through the running game and play action. And I don't even know what happened. They're not predicated to throw deep every down.
I don't think he can throw over the middle of the field. I don't think he's good enough. He's not a good enough passer to throw over the middle of the field.
No, I don't think so. Not without the threat of the run. If it's just on him.
The point is
the receivers did drop a lot on the edges. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
he's
Barkley dropped the ball.
Over the middle.
Devontae Smith dropped the ball, but AJ Brown dropped 3 balls. So that prima donna a little. Anyway,
and his looked like effort balls.
Yes. Anyway, all right, I'm done.
Whatever. All right, no, that's listen. Fair
season.
enough. Fair enough. I'm proud of you for keeping it together. What else is going on, Corey? How's life, buddy?
I don't know, dude. I'm just sitting here. I'm glad you guys are so fucking spiritually fit because my vehicles are about to bankrupt me long before my kids do. So that's wild. But no, I don't know. Other than I don't know. Everything's fine. I'm switching employers, which is nice.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Taking on a bigger role, which I'm
excellent.
I'm like, you know me, like I'm grateful.
Yes,
for
we
it,
do.
But you know what I mean. You know how I feel about it. I'm like, oh boy,
small hands, big titles.
Small hands, big titles. So whatever. I don't know. Sean, you ignored me all fucking weekend. Dan talked to me. Greg was busy, I guess. I mean, whatever.
Greg was in a certain town of.
I was
off of
vacation mode.
Wait,
baby.
so did you leave? I missed it. You didn't leave at all. You stayed home.
No, yeah, I was a staycation.
Dude, I gotta try
we did
that.
a bunch of stuff, but we staycation.
No, that's great. That's great. I got to try it one day. Every time I take off to go, we go somewhere, and it's a hassle. One day I just need to stay the hell home for a whole week.
Yes.
So the whole deal with this, not to get in too in depth, but like I had a week of PTO that I did not get to use last year, and like in my company, it's like you get your 17 days a year to use, but you have to use them within the calendar year. They do not roll over. But because we were so short staffed during the summer, like my boss was like, okay, if you take it into the first week of January, I'll honor it, and no big deal.
That's cool.
So it was just one of those things where it was like, yeah, you know what? Let me just relax a little bit. And it was great.
We need to normalize a moderate rollover in America here. You know what I mean? I feel like most places don't roll over. And we need to get the working man some fucking cards.
My old work, this is how it should always be done with everybody, is my old work. If you don't use it, you get a check for it.
That's my old job did that.
Taking that.
My old job did that. My current job doesn't roll over. You don't get a check for it, but they give us I get an obscene amount of PTO, dude, like an obscene amount. So it's kind of like you can't roll it over, use it. And in our industry, because of what we're dealing with, they're like, it's a company wide philosophy. Like supervisors make your employees take time off. My current role isn't as bad, but especially when I was in case management, it was like mandatory for like mental health because it gets so busy. But we get an dude. I get like
tell us.
I get like 4 weeks. I'm not even kidding you. Plus like a mental health day, plus a rolling holiday, plus I have like 300 hours of sick time. God forbid I ever, get sick again. Like it's wild how much we get, but they make up for it because like the pay grade's not the high. It kind of is one of those things.
But that's cool. That's good though, dude.
No, it's fine with me. Trust me.
That's so time off is. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but time off is so valuable.
To the point where our supervisor gives us quarterly updates on how much time we have, and like there comes a time every year because our fiscal year is I think it's September or whatever it is. Like I'm like, oh shit, like I got like 10 days and it's like the middle of July and I got to figure out to take 10 days off before Labor Day, so I just have a bunch of short weeks basically. But
see, and that's one thing I'm not too excited about is that I'm walking into a role where I'm definitely going to work on some days off. I'm definitely going to have some days off that I just take too, but like, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But
yeah,
but it'll be worth it.
Well,
yeah. My phone, my phone's on 24/7, man. It never.
Hey, you're working. You're
not
working,
me, dude.
Saturday, weren't you?
I'm in Connecticut. Yeah. But even when I'm not working, I'm working.
You own your own business. I get that. You know what I mean? And it's not like you don't have a number two, right? That handles that stuff when you're gone. Kind of.
No.
Not really. Yeah.
No, not really. I give him the day. I give him paid days off when I'm off. Whenever I'm off, he's off, and he gets paid.
Good stuff. All right, guys, let's rock and roll into this thing. So we kind of picked up a little bit where we left off already with the fears and stuff like that. But one of my more favorite subjects, definitely not the right grammar. Sorry, Mom. Harms done. We want to talk about harms done to others tonight. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but specifically the last few weeks, resentment, fears. And now we're going to talk about harms done, the harms we do to others, identifying those harms. I think I'll kick it off like this. We are taught, hey, write down all the people you're mad at and tell me why you're mad at them. And it's like, yes, I finally get to like unleash all these things. And we all have been taught that it's kind of a parlor trick because it's like, hey, now I want you to take that list of everyone you're mad at and find out where you've done them wrong, where you've been at fault. Our literature is really, it's really pointed to where it doesn't say my part. I know we all kind of say it in talking about it, and there's really no harm in saying it, but our literature never says my part. And I think we were all kind of taught the same thing, like saying, oh, my part. Like the problem is if I'm delusional or I don't have good mentorship or good foundation, my part in a situation starts out this big and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, or it could, before you know it, that person was wrong and not me. So we're taught to say, where was I at fault? And we're taught specifically to ask questions, right? Where was I selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, afraid? And I think that has been one of the most effective and honestly freeing parts of my sobriety, because for so long, it was always somebody else's fault, right? I was the victim, whether that was, overt or invert, like I was the victim. It's, my emotions, attitudes, behavior, and the way I felt was dictated upon other people and what they did and what they said. And I finally started at this point in the recovery process, in this part of these spiritual exercises, I start to realize that it's not them, it's me. I get to look at my side of the street, keep my side of the street clean, and there's a freedom in that. So let's kick it off. We'll go right to Greg first, and let's just talk about general conversation about, about harms done. What they, kind of mean for us, our relationship with them. Go ahead, Greg.
I mean, in active addiction, I was a wrecking ball, right? And I ran through the lives of pretty much everybody close to me in some way, shape, or form. I did not have a spouse or too many girlfriends at the time when I was
But you had a few. No, I'm just kidding.
like I was an indesirable person for a good chunk of time. That's not to say that I didn't date and I wasn't in relationships, and I certainly, the people close to us definitely get it the worst. I feel like from an emotional standpoint, good at holding hostages, in that regard. But yeah, I would manipulate those people that I loved. I would, obviously, steal, lie to, all of those kind of things. But, the emotional manipulation tactics, the psychological warfare was probably the worst, because for a good amount of time, I feel like I had my mom convinced that this was all her fault. Right.
Right.
And the way that I would manipulate her into making her feel that way, and other people, my close relatives, my sister, for sure, the same way. You guys have never treated me, this way or that way, and you guys have caused me to be like this, and just really deplorable stuff. And I think a lot of that comes from, I mean, a good chunk of it comes from selfishness, dishonesty, and that kind of stuff. But the way that fear really plays a role in that, like I can look back today and be like, okay, well, we had some pretty heavy trauma stuff early on, and then even beyond all that, like the physical and mental trauma that both my sister and I endured. But the abandonment issues from my dad, when my dad was never really present in my life, or but it was very spotty. And I feel like those core issues there really led to like the manifestations of why I did. I know that those aren't the reasons why I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. We've been over that and kind of beaten that to death. But those fears that I carried with me, those were my means of lashing out at people, right? And my means of manipulating people as well. So if we back up the microscope a little bit more away from those close people, I mean, as far as friends were concerned, it was always a transactional relationship. Even those people that I still like reconnect with and say, hey man, I love you. I've made amends to these people. A lot of them are like, dude, no skin off my back. We all knew that you were just, you were Greg, you were a rager, and you partied hard and this and that. But, realizing today that like back then those relationships were all transactional in some way, shape, or form. I was looking to see what I could get out of you and not how I could really be a friend. It's like, even when I would go out of my way to do something for somebody, it would always be like, I got that thing to dangle over their head, you know? And then, as far as like my boss and my coworkers, man, I feel the worst for them because especially when,
I was a terrible employee, dude. I was a terrible employee.
And the thing was, is if you asked me, I was the best employee there, hands down. I was more skilled than anybody there. I could
You're
work
doing
circles
everybody's
around anybody.
job.
I'm a workhorse. I'm doing everybody's job. And like part of that, like especially when I worked in kitchens, like I mean, you guys have all had food that I've cooked. Like I knew my way around a kitchen, but man, the ego on me, it was insane. And the especially when I started getting really bad into dope, because like I said, I always held down a job. No matter what, I always held down a job. But man, showing up to work half sick or half nodding out and trying to like get through a shift, especially when I was working like in fine dining, where it was like the team that you are is yeah, you can go to like a corporate job and work on the line and BS with your boys all day long, get through a rush. But when you go into like real deal fine dining where you're serving athletes and actors and stuff like that, like it is so crucial that you guys are like everybody is on the same page, and I was the weak link for sure 10 times out of 10. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of harm.
Corey, what about you, Corey? How did you cause harm to family, friends, bosses, girlfriends, boyfriends, anything like that?
I never harmed any of my boyfriends, Sean.
That's good.
I was always good to them.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I could say pretty much a lot of the same stuff Greg was.
Or I guess a better way to put that, what harms that you did to people stick out the most? Let's go there.
One of the more like shameful things I guess I came into recovery with was how much of a douchebag I was to the girl I dated all through high school. Yeah, man, just treated her like absolute shit. And what's funny? It's like I think I used to think that it was only when I was high that I would like hurt people. You know what I mean? Like I would only say mean things or manipulate or whatever the case if I was like intoxicated some way, shape, or form. And it's so freaking delusional because I was
totally
always,
not true.
yeah, I was always this person. You know what I mean? I was always this very flawed person. And to be honest, I may have been more docile when I was high because at least I crawled into my room and left people alone for the most part.
Well, that's the same line of thinking of like I used to say this in early sobriety, like, oh, I never got every time I got arrested, I was always drunk or high. And like once I got sober and started like looking back, like, no, I got arrested a bunch of times, completely stark raving sober because I was doing something illegal to get drunk or high. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the same concept.
That was probably most of mine. Most of my
Yeah.
arrests were on the quest to get high or something else. I mean, fighting too and stuff like that. Like there was conflict all over the place. But yeah, I mean, just like I didn't know what a healthy relationship was with anybody, let alone that girl I mentioned.
I kind of want to get real vulnerable for a second on this podcast, and I don't know if I should, but I think I'm going to do it anyways.
Good.
And then Dan, I'll kick it to you. One of my most shameful things I ever did, I had just started getting high, and I wasn't like full blown yet. I mean, I guess the mentality was probably still there because I already had started lying. I started lying before that, but like scheming and like just whatever. But I don't think I was like a full blown complete asshole at this point. But I smacked a woman one time, guys. I smacked this girl. I was like 13 or 14, probably 14 because I was already getting high a little bit. And I don't know if it's appropriate to shout her name out on the pod. I actually saw her years later, but I was at the skating rink, right, where all bad shit happens to kids our age at that point, when all the trouble really started. And I thought I saw the girl I was dating holding hands and skating with my best friend. And it turns out like it wasn't really true. They were just like skating next to each other because they knew each other, and she like fell and he was like helping her up. But here I am already in like this, like I was probably stoned, this diluted state. And I'm mad and I'm over like punching lockers, like just being a complete total idiot, just melting down because I was an emotionally little boy. Um, and this girl comes over who was a friend of all of ours, kinda. She was whatever. She was in our friend group, and she like gets in my face and like is getting all on my case for acting like a complete idiot, which maybe it wasn't her place to do that, but like I was acting like a complete imbecile. And I was like in her face, and she like got in my face, and she was a little fiery one, and she's like, "What are you gonna do? Hit me? I dare you to!" And like I smacked her, and I will never forget that. And that was one of those things that I took to my first inventory process with my mentor 14 plus years ago, and I was so guilt ridden and shameful for that. Like, and I got like jumped for it. Some of the guy, I got, it was a mess. It was just this big drama scene in that time of my life. And I got in, like, I carried that guilt and shame with me for years. I mean, that was for, the better part of a decade, if not more. And the funny part is, like, a few years after that, I moved to Florida. I went back to Virginia. This was all in Virginia. I saw her, and like we reconciled things, and like we hung out. We drank together. We got drunk together. We hung out. Went to a few parties. Like it was all good, but I still carried that guilt with me. Right? Like I didn't have these tools that I have today. This inventory process on how to forgive myself, or understanding that God already forgives me, or whatever the case may be. But that was one of those things. Like I don't want to sit here and say like I drank over that guilt for years and years and years, because it was never forefront of my mind all the time.
But it was
But
just
when
more
I
on the
would get
pile.
what's that?
It was more on the pile.
And just like I would get into those depressive states at times when I was drunk or high, and like it would always come back, So I don't know. That was just something.
Well,
That was like something
and the
that I
thing
thought.
too is, as men, that's a cardinal sin. You know
For
what I'm
sure.
saying? So
Dude,
when
for
we
sure.
do that, the shame and the guilt, when you realize what you've done, is 10
100%.
times over. Yeah.
100%. And
Yeah.
and I will say today that I'm free of that. You know what I mean? And I wish her the best wherever she is. Danny, what about you? What kind of harm? The question I was asking was, what kind of harm did you do to spouses, significant others, family, friends, bosses, or what are some harms that really stick out to you from your drinking days, like the major ones?
Definitely for me is my mom, first of all, my cousin, and then my ex. Those are the three people that I lied to, that mean the most to me, that I carried with me. But while I was getting high, drinking and doing all that stuff, I didn't have much guilt about it, because to me, I was always necessary. I needed to do X, and then eventually I'll fix it and it'll be all good. That was always my mentality and everything like that. But yeah, those were the hardest ones, man. And coming over that, like, after the fact, and having those conversations to repair that, like you said, and being relieved of that weight, was just like so grand. And I want to say thank you for sharing that story, man. That was super vulnerable of you, and I like sharing that story. That like that's everything, man. Carrying that weight and getting that relief from you is such a freeing experience. But yeah, my mom, like, all the lies I told to my mom and all the things, and that's one of those things that talking to her and stuff, and like you just said, I'm just happy you're alive, and I'm just happy of this, but that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, that's great,
Right.
and everything's all good, and that's cool, but and yeah, the same thing. That my cousin's like my father to me, because my father wasn't around when I got older as a kid and stuff, and he's the one that showed me a lot of things, and really helped me out, like, through life and stuff. When I lost my job, he always helped me out, and so, like, lying and deceiving him to my ends, that really hurt me a lot, because he's, like I said, he's more than a cousin to me. And then my ex, I mean, just like Corey, I dated her for 15 years. We were married, we had a son together, and all the things I did, from, what I mean, selling our stuff and lying and putting us in harm's way at my own ends. Those were the three biggest ones. The one of me owing Johnny Boy $100, didn't carry much weight, but those were the real ones that, like, were actually, people close to me and stuff, that really carried a lot of weight with me, and getting free of that and having those conversations is so hard to work up to, but so powerful.
Yeah.
So Greg, how did those, like, did the drinking and the drug use, how did you avoid taking responsibility for your actions? Like, what was kind of the go-to? Was there like a go-to, like it wasn't me kind of thing, or was it just a general, just blame somebody else? Like, how did the drinking and the using help you avoid taking responsibility for those actions?
Well, I mean, a multitude of things. One being that while I'm in the pits of drug addiction and alcoholism, I'm selfish and self-centered to the core. It's certainly the type of people we are. When we are removed from those things, we're still selfish and self-centered to
Right.
the core, and we need help with that. But when we're ripping and running, man, it's a whole different level. And so that allowed me to constantly, the focus is, I am always the focal point. I am always, in this for me, and me first, and
Hmm.
then me second, and then maybe you, a
Down the
far
road.
distant third. Yeah, down the road. So yeah, when you're like that, you're almost incapable of taking responsibility and accountability for your actions because you're so deep into it. you know um the victim mentality, that was huge for me, because it's always look at what's happening to me, or look what this, you know X happened, and then Y was the result, and it all was aimed at me, screwing me over specifically, right? So again, if I'm the victim, if I create that mentality in every situation, then why would I be responsible
Mm.
or accountable for my own actions? And I think that, you know on just a physical and certainly emotional level as well, the drinking and the drug use, especially when we're talking about heavy duty opiates, they numb you. They numb everything, and make, take you to a state of not caring about those people around you.
Right.
And certainly deep down inside somewhere, when I looked in the mirror, I knew I was guilty of what I was doing, and I felt so much shame and guilt and remorse for all that. But there was no way of getting that out of me at that
Right.
point, because I was so numbed up. So why would I pull myself out of that to actually have to feel those feelings and have to own up to that stuff? There was no chance of that.
Greg, did you have one specific harm or one thing, like the three of us were talking about, something that really stands out to you that you just carried with you for a lot of years?
Yeah, I mean, there's there's a good amount of stuff, and I definitely, like I mentioned earlier, like that emotional manipulation runs deep, because my mom had already felt guilty about the stuff that happened to me and my sister when we were kids, right? So she already felt a certain level of guilt to that, and I exploited that and
Yeah.
manipulated that to my own ends, which is deplorable, but it was what I needed to do to get by at the time. And then, but as far as like physical things, tangible things, there's a lot of them, but I would definitely say, I've told it on this podcast before, but I went rifling through a safe and some drawers at one point at my mom and stepdad's house, and I came across some jewelry, and I pawned it because I needed to get a fix, and I didn't know that one of those was my mom's wedding ring. You know, thank God, and this is after I was in treatment and long past the time where like the consignment was up on it. They were able to they found it and
Wow.
were able to get it back. Somehow it didn't get, because if you guys know anything about jewelry, like there is virtually no resale on value on diamond rings. They're worth more melted down for the gold, and that's what a lot of those consignment shops do. And thankfully they were able to find that before that happened. But yeah, that one I carried with me for a long time, and I still, it like I said, I've made amends, and we've talked about it, and they're just happy that I'm getting on with life and everything like that. But I still, to this day, feel a little bit on that
Yeah.
one, because that's
Yeah.
just that's a scumbag move for sure.
Corey, what was your go-to to avoid taking responsibility for your actions? What was your? I feel like you probably had like some punchable feature about you that.
Whatever, Sean. real quick. Greg just said something that made me think.
Go right ahead.
He just said it, but what about you other two guys? Like, do you guys like? God damn it, I'm terrible. With. You guys should fire me. Is what should happen. You should
No chance.
Let me go. All right. There is like two things that I've done as far as harms that like I used to say in early sobriety that like that I was guilt and shame free. You know what I mean? Like I felt that way for a long time. But like Greg literally just said it. I am for the most part guilt and shame free for the most part. You know what I mean? All that stuff, at least pre sobriety, you know, before getting sober, like God lifted almost all of it, you know. But there is like one or two things that if I think about today, it does make me kind of shiver for a second. Like again, I don't live in it. I've made amends for them, all that stuff. But like, do you guys feel the same way? Like Greg said this part, but
About any of our own stuff?
yeah.
I have an ex-girlfriend that I dated in high school that I, it was my first love, whatever you want to call it. We were in ninth grade, so it wasn't like anything, and I was just I was just a shitty boyfriend. I kind of like what you said. I just did a lot. I never like harmed her physically. I don't even think I ever like cheated on her or anything like that. But I was so consumed with getting high and drinking. And her brother was a year older than us, maybe 2 years. And he had already gotten into a lot of trouble. And he was kind of like bad news bear, so to speak. But I gravitated towards that. And one of the things she begged me not to do was hang out with her brother. And I always effing hung out with her brother. And I would totally kick her to the curb to go hang out with her brother. And then my mom moved me to Florida, and it was like this as messy of a ninth grade breakup could be, whatever you want to call it. Like, no, and I came back 5 years later, and I'm telling you, like, she wasn't waiting for, like, she lived her life. She went through high school. She was in college. She dated other people. But when she found out I was coming back, like, she totally was just like wanted to pick up where we left off. And I, of course, thought that was in my mind was a great idea. And I got back to Virginia, 19 years old, way worse than I was when I left at 14, 15, and just totally like was just same thing, was just absolute complete shitty boyfriend. All kinds of stuff, to the point where I won't even get into all the details, but fill in the blanks. Again, I know what I just shared a little bit ago, but that was the only instance of laying my hands on a woman. I never physically harmed her. I wasn't even like verbally abusive. I did that thing that we addicts do. I made promises that I couldn't keep. I said I was going to do something and I never did. I left to come back to Florida. She drove me to the Greyhound, because that's where my life was at the time, taking a Greyhound. And I like promised her that I would be back and we would be together. And I had zero intention of ever coming back to Virginia. So I have tried to reach out to her, like through Facebook. I don't have a Facebook, as you guys know, but I've reached out to her. Actually, most recently, I found out she got married to like the only good guy in our town, the only good guy. Like, I played baseball with him. He was like, the rest of us were scumbags. He was like the only good guy. So I used my wife's Facebook. I had Catherine find him, and I messaged him and asked his permission to like write a letter or talk to her if she wanted, like totally put it in his court and her court, said specifically what I was trying to do, didn't beat around the bush, wanted to leave it up to him. Ultimately didn't want to impede. They have kids, all that stuff. And we never heard from him. That's one that like, I don't carry it around like, oh my God, guilt, shame. But that's one that I hope and pray that God aligns the stars and I get to do one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Corey, I mean, honestly, most of them, I'd say probably the only one I feel, and it's more probably just like a man thing, is my cousin. But the people that I really like, the wrongs that I just listed are actively in my life, and I actively see them all the time. So like seeing my mom's face and how happy she is and talking, you know what I mean? Like I don't really to me personally, I know I had to go through all that and be that person to get where I am today. So like I would say probably the only one that I feel a twinge of is probably my cousin. My ex definitely not. I'm good with that one. That one's I'm pretty settled on. There's nothing I'm going to say or do that's going to change that situation. So that's kind of like just it is where it is, and I did my part, and as we talk about, and but yeah, no, for me, I don't really have any like Sean was just saying, like outside ones that are not in my life. So I really, to me, like I really have it in my head and in my life that everything that I was wrong or that I did or the lying is, if I didn't do that stuff, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's just like a constant every single day in my life. And that I really don't hold the weight of that anymore. And the greatest thing in the world is that things that I do nowadays, I'm able to make right as soon as possible. Whether I think I did something wrong or I don't, if I feel any kind of weight, I know that I'm not going to live with that weight at night. So for me, yeah, really, I would say like really all that stuff I had to go through, and those people are actively in my life. So it's a little different.
Yeah. No, I would agree with both of you. Yeah, same thing, like 99% of the time, guilt and shame free over here. Like, not that I don't feel bad for the stuff that I did, but like it's been handled, what I mean, for the most part, with the person directly and with me and God. And I feel the same way. Like, it got us here. Most of all, we get to share the experience with other people. So like, as powerful as it is, to share like what happened to us or whatever, like we can also share like, I was this type of dirtbag too. And not only did I recover from drug addiction and alcoholism, but I'm also not that same type of dickhead. So, right. You know what I mean? I'll answer you real quick, Sean. Avoiding
taking responsibility for the harms done, for the actions.
Yeah, it's real easy. I think I said it earlier. Like
how have you?
What's your go-to move?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just had myself convinced that everything was a result of like me being actively intoxicated. And while my drug addiction was the root of many problems, it went deeper. I had root causes of my drug addiction. You know what I mean? Like, I had things that were keeping me sick. So I was just that person anyway. You know what I mean? I didn't like, I cheated on girlfriends and stuff. And,
what about boyfriends?
I told you I
he already said
well.
He treated them well. He never harmed them.
But I didn't have to be high to do those kind of things. You know what I mean? It was just the selfish, self-centered person I was. I guess I got to clarify. I'm not actually gay, internet. So,
but he will tell you $20 is still $20.
Yeah, $20.
I mean,
that's going to be in our second segment of the night. Corey, what did you do for $20?
Yeah.
Greg, I like Corey's question. Do you have any out there that are still like that you haven't made yet, or that you still carry it with you, or?
Do I have like any amends, you mean, that I haven't gotten to make yet?
Yeah, or just any of the ones that like feel worse than others, or what was right? That was the question, right, Corey?
Yeah,
but it kind of spun off of his wedding ring story. But
yeah, like the thing with my mom's wedding ring for sure. Yeah. I do have
still keep you up
two people that have said that they don't really, they're like, hey, glad your life is good, but I don't really want to hear it. And that's fine. Like, I've come to a point in my sobriety in my life where it's like, if that time is right, they know where they can reach out to me, and I'll gladly sit down and have a conversation and shore up my side of things for sure, and let them talk and let them say whatever they got to say. But I have faith that, when the time is right, if the time is ever right, then right. That those things will happen. The thing with my mom's wedding ring. You know, it's not so much that, like, look, I know that whenever the day comes, like, I'm going to go meet my creator and I'll have to answer or not answer for whatever. Right. You know, however, at the end of the day, it's more so like, you know, at this point, it's a thought of, damn, like, yeah, that was what kind of scumbag I was, which makes me glad, you know, kind of what you guys were saying is like, I'm not that guy anymore, you know, thank God, you know, but we had to do some work to get to this point, right?
Yep.
So
I want to clarify something real quick too. Is, you know, I just went on a diatribe about an ex-girlfriend of mine, you know, and making amends, and how I still think about her in that sense. Not like I miss her in that sense, but like I still think about making the amends. I want to give a big shout out to my wife because I am happily married. And I'm sure there's a lot of wives and spouses and husbands and significant others out there that, even though they may not be in recovery and have this way of life, they would understand the necessity for one of us, someone in recovery, to be able to reconcile something with an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. And big shout out to my wife, because there's been a few ex-girlfriends over the years that I've needed to make amends to. I've needed to make contact with and reconcile, and say I'm sorry and how can I make it, you know, whatever. And like, Catherine is totally 100%. She's not only is she on board with it, she understands it. She's done it herself, right? And both of us have come to the other one even before we were married and said, I said, hey babe, you know, like, I got, this is coming up, and, you know, and I got to speak to this person, and I need to, you know, I just want to make sure you're okay that I make contact with this ex-girlfriend or whatever. And I'm going to have a conversation with her. I'm going to have to meet her for a cup of coffee and do it like that. And Catherine is, you know, more than willing. And like I said, I'm more than willing on her end, because she's had to do the same thing with some of her exes. So big shout out to that, you know, and the understanding spouses that we have.
And I feel that's all about transparency. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're fully transparent with your spouse, with your
Yep.
significant other, and you know those kind of things will go well, because you should have nothing but pure intentions in your heart. You know, on both sides of the fence. So,
yeah, agreed.
If you tell your significant other or partner or whatever, like, hey, I have to do this to overcome drinking, and they're like, no, the fuck you're not. I mean, do you want to be with that person?
True. But we've all heard other people have those significant others that are not understanding. But that also, to your point, Corey, like that starts with, who am I already in recovery, right? What kind of person am I already? Have I given my current girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse or whatever reason to distrust me in any way? You know, that kind of thing, which is a huge thing. And something that I think I know I do, and I think I can speak for the three of you fine gentlemen, we all take that very seriously today. Corey knows. Corey messes with me. I don't even text. Like, I've had to speak to Gabby over the years for like service related stuff or kid related stuff or whatever. Like, I have a text thread with him and Gabby in it. I don't text Gabby without him on the thread. Just a personal thing, right?
It's because Gabby was hitting on him. I was like, yo,
don't spread that. Yeah. Gabby, we're sorry. Don't mind your husband.
Yeah, now I'll wake up to texts that have nothing to do with me. I'm like, great, Sean.
You might not wake up, period. So
yeah.
But I think it's to the overarching point of like, how do we conduct ourselves, not just in our relationships with our significant others and our spouses, but like in our business relationships, in our family relationships, friend relationships. How do we conduct ourselves? Are we that example of honesty and integrity today? You know, or are we still that scummy bag? So
yeah, and I think it's even more than transparency. It's communication. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you can be transparent at times when you want, or you can communicate all your thoughts and what this is and what that is, you know, because I've seen like a bunch of times, like you can be fully transparent, but you're withholding other information, you know, like, and that's like the biggest thing I've seen, you know, is in my life, communication of everything. Whenever things, you know, I don't know about your guys' relationships, but whenever things hit rocks, it's because communication is lacking, you know, every single time, you know, and that leads to the transparency and people know more and you say more and all the feelings and all that stuff. It's just like so vital, man. And to be on a plane where you can, and you know, you're going to mess up, You know what I mean? You mess up all the time. Oh yeah, I get your point. I didn't even realize that because you don't even think, and like sometimes. And yeah, no, I mean, I'm super grateful to be who we are today. Because it wasn't like that before. I would only give out information that I thought should be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. The lie of omission, right? Withholding
Mhm.
certain information because we know it suits us better, So, and I know this kind of turned in a little bit to like how we act in our relationships, but again, it can't be understated that these go in all of our relationships, right? Whatever it is, personal, business, leisure, whatever it is, it goes in all our relationships. So yeah, good stuff, guys. Any closing thoughts tonight? Anybody got anything before we wrap up?
I want to share that my go-to move for not dealing with stuff was always submission, because I apparently can be a threatening, angry person. So I would just get angry at the other person, and then eventually they would just give in. That would always, like with my ex and like stuff like that would always be my go-to, is to fear and submission, to get my way, that I am so right. That's how angry I am, because you're going to submit and say that I'm right.
Oh, you would submit them into, like, you would make them. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Always. That was always the go-to.
Yeah, I can easily kill a conversation or kill a point by just just going ham on it and overstating it and continuing and just, berating the other person. So, but the good news is we're not those men today. So neither is Corey. Corey's actually a really good guy. He just likes to, for all our listeners out there that thinks he's like this grumpy, whiny, whatever. He's actually a really good guy. One day he's going to realize that.
I actually wondered today, dude, strangest thought, but I wondered today, what would Sean say about me at my funeral? I was wondering.
You got to stop thinking about me that much, dude.
He wouldn't be able to take his eyes off those hands.
It's just, I don't know, man. There was some weird energy coming from you over the chat this weekend, dude. I don't know.
I was
you're
busy.
mad at me. Are you mad at me?
Busy. We were literally out to dinner with like 8 strangers that I never met before, and then our other friend that I won't say her name, but that we know from general, from service stuff. And I was trying to be like, my wife and I were there, and we were just trying to be part of that conversation. And then we went to a recovery group and did a little double speaker thing, but it happened to be right in the middle of your game yesterday. So yes, I was tracking the game, but it's no secret I don't like the Eagles, Corey. It's not a secret. I love you, but I don't like them.
I needed that. Thank you.
Okay. I'll always love you, buddy. Shout out to our listeners. Please like, follow, and share on all socials at Trudge Report Pod. The real thing is, I would just feel guilty for pawning you off on someone else. I'd feel bad for them. So I got to keep you. Email us, trudgereportpod@yahoo.com. Send in your mailbag requests for topics, questions, and comments to any of these handles. Remember, we are all here. If anyone wants to talk about recovery, our experiences, or if you're struggling with some form of addiction, thank you again to Janine and Stella Mix Podcast Management. Good night. God bless. Trudge the road of happy destiny. See you next week.